So as you can see now, I've made some changes to the scene. It does look a little bit dark at the moment because I know I'm going to be using Patch Tracer. So when I click on Patch Tracer, the scene does get a lot more bright. So I'm going to show you a couple of things that I did in case you want to try those things. So the first thing, remember, I try to create always a story. What am I trying to share? So I'm thinking this person most likely cuts some wood, lives in this forest, so there's some wood that he's collected. There's this old pickup truck that maybe the person tried to use and now is just fixing or something like that, right? So as I said, I created this scatter. As you can see, it was when you click on populate and there's the paint and scatter. The scatter just sort of places randomly. So I've created this scatter vegetation, and like I said, you can always delete things or add things. If you select them all, you can actually start using the eraser tool and you can erase whatever you don't want to see, right? So in this case, I've done that to create a little bit of more of a background image, but also you can also, let's say for some reason I really want to select this and I want only those to grow. And it's not that visible at the moment because there might not be that many, but if you want some of those to be bigger than others, you can still manipulate and change those. So that kind of gives you, so they all don't look exactly the same. So you can see that I made some bigger and now those changes are starting to happen. I also used a painted vegetation, and painted is more of a placing it as a brush, right? So you have a little bit more control. So I added a few and added a few close, the ones that I'm going to be more in the scene. You can see those are going to be more visible than the others. The other one is more of a background. The last thing that I did is I also used a painted vegetation for grass. Similar process, painted. I did paint, and then I added some different types of grass that you can find here, right? And grass, and so I put a couple of those. One of the things that I sort of like to do is, if let's say I were to hide this for now, you can see that you can select the actual what you want to paint, and you can do by clicking these three dots, you can click isolate on and off. When you do that, only that part becomes sort of seen. And because of that, when you want to actually paint something, let's say I'm going to paint this for now, it's a lot easier to know what you're painting versus when you see everything and it can go into the sidewalk and so on. Here it can still overflow into the sidewalk, but it's a lot easier to paint and just be sure what you're doing. And once you kind of are done, you can turn off the isolate on and off so that you can go back to the thing. Right? So here created some folders in a way. They're called containers. So I'm going to turn back on my, here in vegetation context, I've had my vegetation. I'm going to turn it on. As you can see, I didn't paint right now. This is my grass. I only painted what is going to be in my scene. There's no need to paint all the way to the distance because it's only going to make your model a lot heavier and harder to render. I only painted what's going to be seen. But as you can see, right, it still went over the sidewalk, right? So those are some things that you can always modify. So if I want to be a little bit more precise, I can come in and try to clean it up, right? So that I can be a lot more precise into my actual model, right? So those are things that you can sort of take care of and just to give it a cleaner look and so on. And sometimes it's fine if it goes up. It really, like here, might look a little weird, so I'm going to clean it up here as well. Right, so those are some things that you kind of just can take care of and so on. So I've added the vegetation, and hopefully you realize that it looks a lot more realistic than if it was without any type of 3D grass, right? You can see it here, and then I think I did create another vegetation, so I'm going to delete this one for now because I don't really need it. But If it was just like this, it does look a little flat in comparison to adding this, right? In this case, I'm leaving it pretty big, but the same process as the other one, you can always decrease the size and the density. So if you really don't want the grass to be that big, you can manipulate that. But for now, because it's sort of in the wilderness, I'm okay with this. So I've sort of created my scene, right? I've also added some hills, if, you know, by so the site can sort of blend in a little bit better. I sort of added some of those things. Talking about blending in the actual context, you'll notice that there's a pool and a sunken area in the back, right? So one of the things that I had to do is if I select this, if I select my starting ground, my topography, let me see if I can select it one more time, you will notice that this part is going to be sunken in. Originally, before I did anything, it was full of sort of land, right? It was something like this. And so what I had to do was make sure that I had to remove all of this by making it, the dig part and removing all of the ground. So as you can see, I kind of just digged, created this sort of barrier, and I sort of started taking away the land of all these different parts, because this site does have this sort of stairs and this grass and this pool area. So if you see in your actual pool, and maybe here there's a little thing, so you can see if you don't do that, it'll look like this. So I actually missed that part, and I can still click dig, and you can see it'll start disappearing. So you do have to go around, and so apparently there's another one here that I missed. There you go. And maybe there's a little bit here in the stairs, and so on. Right? So you can actually, go around and clean it up so that you won't be able to see the actual ground, and just remove it so that your site could actually be fine.